Have you ever felt like you're trapped in a conversation or situation, not because you want to be there, but because somehow you're made to feel like you have no other choice? That is the subtle art of manipulation, a tactic as old as time, yet as fresh and relevant in our lives today as it was in the age of the ancient Stoics. Imagine this. Even Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in the history of the Roman Empire, warned us about the manipulations of those who would seek to use our own virtues against us. In today's world, filled with social media, instant communication, and endless opportunities for comparison, manipulation can sometimes feel like an invisible thread pulling us in directions we never chose to go. But what if I told you that understanding the signs of manipulation and anchoring ourselves in the wisdom of Stoicism could offer us not just a shield, but a way to navigate through these waters with grace and personal integrity? Stay with me, because we're about to dive deep into the signs that reveal you're being manipulated, and how the timeless teachings of Stoicism can empower us to reclaim our freedom, our choices, and our inner peace. And before we unravel this tapestry of manipulation and wisdom, make sure you hit that subscribe button and stick with us throughout the entire video, because each piece of this puzzle we're about to lay out is crucial for building your defenses and enhancing your understanding, ensuring you're equipped to face the challenges that lie ahead. Number 1. The endless test of worth. Picture you're in a relationship or a situation where it feels like you're constantly on trial, always having to prove your worth, your love, your loyalty, over and over again. It's as if your value as a person is always in question, and no matter how much you give, it never seems to be enough. Now, let's pause for a moment and think about that through the lens of Stoicism. The Stoics, those ancient philosophers who were all about inner peace and resilience, had a pretty clear stance on this. They believed that our worth is inherent, something that can't be given or taken away by someone else's demands or judgments. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic emperor and philosopher, once wrote about the importance of being true to oneself, regardless of external pressures. He suggested that the opinion of others should not disturb our inner tranquility. So, when we find ourselves in these endless tests of worth, what we're really facing is a manipulation tactic, one that tries to make us doubt our intrinsic value. This is especially toxic because it can lead us to overextend ourselves, to pour our energy and affection into a bottomless pit, hoping that this time it will be enough. But here's the Stoic twist. It's not about proving our worth to others, it's about recognizing our own value and standing firm in it. It's about setting boundaries and understanding that no one has the right to make us feel less than we are. So, why do manipulators do this? Why the endless test? Because it keeps us off balance, constantly seeking their approval, and in doing so, we give away our power. But remember, in the words of Epictetus, another Stoic heavyweight, we have control over our own perceptions and actions. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. The Stoic approach to breaking free from this cycle is simple but profound. Know yourself, respect yourself, and do not let the shifting sands of someone else's approval define your worth. It's about moving from external validation to internal peace, understanding that you are enough, just as you are. And when someone tries to make you prove your worth, remember, you don't have to take that test. You've already passed it simply by being your authentic self. Number 2. The shadows of communication. It's like walking through a thick fog where you can barely see what's ahead, or even grasp the true intentions behind the words being spoken to you. This shadowy communication often takes the form of passive aggressiveness. Those moments when someone's words say one thing, but their tone, their actions, screams something entirely different. It's like trying to read a book with half the pages torn out. You get the gist, but the full story, it remains elusive, leaving you to fill in the blanks, often with doubts and insecurities. The ancient Stoics had a powerful antidote to this kind of manipulation: clarity and straightforwardness. They valued direct communication and believed that the truth, no matter how blunt, was always preferable to a comforting lie. Marcus Aurelius, for one, emphasized the importance of saying what you mean and meaning what you say, a principle that cuts through the shadows of communication like a beacon of light. But why do manipulators love to dwell in these shadows? Because ambiguity is their ally. By not saying what they truly mean, they avoid accountability. "I was just joking," they might say, or "You're reading too much into it." Sound familiar? It's a way to keep you guessing, to keep the power dynamics tilted in their favor. After all, if you're always trying to decode their true intentions, you're less likely to challenge them or assert your own needs. Stoicism teaches us to look beyond the surface, to seek the intention behind the words. It reminds us that while we cannot control how others choose to communicate, we can control our reactions to it. We can seek clarity, ask direct questions, and refuse to play the guessing game. And when we encounter those who persist in communicating from the shadows, we have the power to choose not to engage, to step back into the light of clear, honest interaction. In our interactions, let's strive for the Stoic ideal of straightforwardness. Let's not be afraid to ask for clarification, to express our needs and expectations openly, because in doing so, we not only dispel the shadows of communication, but we also invite others to step into the light with us. Remember, a conversation shouldn't be a labyrinth. It should be a clear path, marked by honesty and respect, leading to understanding and connection. Number 3, the maze of gaslighting. Imagine being in a labyrinth where every turn you take seems right, but somehow you end up questioning if you've been going in circles. Gaslighting is like that, but in the realm of personal interactions. It's a manipulative tactic that makes you doubt the very essence of your reality, your memories, even your sanity. Someone gaslights you by denying things they've said or done, or by twisting the truth so skillfully that you start questioning your own perceptions. The Stoics, with their focus on the power of our mind and perception, offer a guiding light out of this maze. They taught the importance of trusting in one's own judgment and the evidence of one's senses. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, urged us to differentiate between what is within our control and what is not. Our perceptions, our beliefs, our judgments, these are within our control. So when faced with gaslighting, the Stoic practice of grounding oneself in one's own perception of reality becomes a crucial defense. But why is gaslighting so effective as a form of manipulation? It preys on our fundamental need for stability and truth in our understanding of the world. By shaking the foundation of our reality, the gaslighter gains control. It's an insidious form of manipulation because it makes you reliant on the gaslighter for validation of your reality. Suddenly, the maze doesn't just confine you, it becomes your whole world, with the gaslighter holding the map. Here's where Stoicism helps us reclaim our map. It teaches us to rely on our internal compass, to trust in our ability to perceive and interpret our reality accurately. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, emphasized the strength that comes from within, a resilience that no external force can diminish. He would advise us to hold steadfast to our truths, to remember that our perception and judgment, when reasoned and reflective, are powerful guides out of the maze of gaslighting. Breaking free from gaslighting begins with this Stoic realization. We may not control the actions or words of others, but we can control our response to them. We can choose not to play the game. We can seek support, document our experiences, and trust in the evidence of our senses. And most importantly, we can remember that our reality, our truths, do not need validation from those who would manipulate them. So, if you ever find yourself in the maze of gaslighting, remember the Stoic teachings. Ground yourself in your perceptions, trust in your internal compass, and know that your reality is not for others to define. By standing firm in your truth, you find your way out of the maze, back into the light of clarity and self-assuredness. Number 4. Just joking. A veil for disrespect. Imagine you're sharing a laugh with someone, and then, out of nowhere, a comment is made at your expense. It stings, but before you can even process it, you're hit with the classic, "I'm just joking." Suddenly, you're left in this weird limbo of feeling hurt, but questioning if you're just being too sensitive. Here's the thing. Humor is a beautiful part of human connection, but when it's used as a disguise for disrespect or to belittle someone, it loses its lightness. It becomes a tool of manipulation, a way to test boundaries under the guise of comedy. The Stoics, with their emphasis on respect and dignity for oneself and others, would likely view this tactic for what it is, a deviation from the path of virtue. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher, talked about the importance of harmony in relationships and the strength of character. He would probably suggest that true strength lies not in belittling others, but in lifting them up. So when someone hides disrespect behind humor, it's not just a personal attack. It's a reflection of their own insecurities or inability to engage in genuine, respectful communication. But why do some people resort to this tactic? Well, it's a way to assert dominance while maintaining plausible deniability. It's like saying, "I can disrespect you, but you can't call me out on it because it's all in good fun, right?" Wrong. This isn't just about being overly sensitive. It's about recognizing and standing up against subtle forms of manipulation and disrespect. Stoicism teaches us to maintain our inner peace and dignity, regardless of external provocations. Marcus Aurelius would likely counsel us to respond to such situations with equanimity and to reflect on the intentions behind these jokes. The goal isn't to retaliate, but to understand that we have the power to choose how we let others affect us. Stoicism also reminds us of the importance of clear, direct communication. If a joke hurts, it's okay to say so. It's okay to set boundaries around what is acceptable and what is not. In navigating the murky waters of humor as manipulation, remember the Stoic principles of respect, dignity, and self-awareness. Understand that your feelings are valid and that you deserve to be treated with kindness and respect, even in jest. And perhaps most importantly, remember that true humor brings joy and connection, not discomfort or pain. So the next time you're on the receiving end of a just joking jab, stand firm in your truth. Let's strive for a world where laughter is a bridge, not a barrier. Number 5. Playing the victim card. Picture this scenario. Any conflict or disagreement arises, and instead of a mutual effort to resolve it, one party instantly morphs into the victim, the wronged, the one who bears no fault. This isn't just about seeking sympathy. It's a calculated move to shift blame, evade responsibility, and manipulate the narrative. From a Stoic perspective, this behavior clashes fundamentally with the philosophy's emphasis on personal responsibility, honesty, and the pursuit of virtue. The Stoics, like Epictetus, believed that external events are beyond our control, but how we interpret and respond to them is entirely within our power. Playing the victim card denies this power, seeking instead to control the external by manipulating perceptions. But why is this tactic so effective? Because it preys on our compassion and our innate desire to help those who are suffering. When someone plays the victim, it triggers a response in us to alleviate their suffering, often at the cost of our own needs and sometimes even our grasp of the truth. It's a powerful form of emotional blackmail that puts us in an impossible position. Challenge the victim narrative and appear heartless, or accept it and allow the manipulation to continue. Stoicism offers a way out of this conundrum by encouraging us to seek clarity and truth above emotional reaction. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, urged us to look beneath the surface, to understand the nature of things, and to act with justice and integrity. When faced with someone playing the victim card, we're reminded to pause, reflect, and not immediately succumb to emotional manipulation. It's about finding the balance between compassion and discernment, recognizing the difference between genuine suffering and manipulative tactics. This Stoic approach doesn't mean we become cold or uncaring. Quite the opposite. It means we care wisely, offering support without enabling deceit or evasion of responsibility. It's about maintaining our integrity, even in the face of manipulation, and encouraging others to do the same by holding them accountable for their actions and choices. So, the next time you encounter someone playing the victim card, remember the Stoic principles. Seek the truth, maintain your integrity, and respond with both compassion and discernment. It's a delicate balance to strike, but it's within this balance that we find the strength to resist manipulation and foster genuine, honest relationships. Number 6. Kindness with strings attached. Imagine someone showering you with kindness, favors, and gifts. At first glance, it feels genuine, warm, and perhaps even uplifting. But as time unfolds, you start noticing a pattern. These acts of kindness are not free. They come with expectations, obligations, and sometimes a heavy price. This isn't genuine kindness. It's a manipulation tactic, cloaked in the guise of generosity. The Stoics, with their sharp insight into human behavior, recognized the importance of genuine kindness, the kind that expects nothing in return. Seneca, a notable Stoic thinker, spoke of true generosity as giving without the expectation of reciprocity, for the act itself is its own reward. When kindness is offered with strings attached, it ceases to be kindness. Instead, it becomes a transaction, a tool for manipulation, leveraging human decency for personal gain. Why do people use this tactic? It's simple. By binding you with the chains of obligation, they create a sense of indebtedness. It's a psychological game where the manipulator bets on your good nature, your reluctance to appear ungrateful, to ensure compliance with their wishes or demands. It turns relationships into transactions, where every act of kindness tallies up, waiting to be repaid. This is where Stoicism sheds light on a path forward. It teaches us the value of independence, of being self-sufficient, not just in material terms, but emotionally and morally. Marcus Aurelius, reflecting on the essence of Stoic wisdom, emphasized the importance of acting in accordance with virtue, of doing the right thing for its own sake, not for reward or recognition. When we apply this to the concept of kindness, it becomes clear. True kindness is unconditional. But how do we deal with those who offer kindness with strings attached? First, by recognizing it for what it is, a manipulation tactic. Then, by grounding ourselves in Stoic principles, we can appreciate the kindness we receive, but remain vigilant against hidden agendas. We learn to say thank you for the gesture, but maintain our autonomy, making it clear that our actions, our choices, are not for sale. In navigating these tricky waters, let's remember the Stoic virtues of wisdom and courage. Wisdom to see beyond the surface, to recognize when kindness is used as a lever of control, and courage to maintain our integrity, to kindly but firmly set boundaries that protect our independence and virtue. Number 7. Minimizing your feelings. Imagine opening up to someone about a struggle or pain you're experiencing, only to have it dismissed as insignificant, or worse, compared to a supposedly greater suffering of theirs. This isn't just about neglecting your feelings. It's a strategy to undermine your experiences, to make you feel small and your problems unworthy of attention. The Stoics, who placed great value on the power of perception and the significance of emotional resilience, would likely view this act of minimizing feelings as a deviation from the path of empathy and understanding. They believed in the strength of acknowledging and facing our emotions, not in belittling them. Epictetus, one of the pillars of Stoicism, taught that our reactions to events, more than the events themselves, define our experience. When someone minimizes your feelings, they're not just dismissing your reaction, they're attempting to redefine your experience, to assert control over how you should feel. But why do people engage in this behavior? Often it's a manifestation of their discomfort with vulnerability or a misguided attempt to maintain a facade of strength. By belittling your feelings, they divert attention from their own insecurities or inadequacies. It's a defense mechanism, albeit one that causes collateral damage to the trust and intimacy that could otherwise flourish. Stoicism offers a countermeasure to this tactic: the cultivation of self-awareness and the affirmation of our right to feel. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic emperor, reflected often on the importance of acknowledging our emotions while not being overwhelmed by them. He would advise us to recognize the validity of our feelings, regardless of external validation. This isn't about wallowing or demanding universal acknowledgement for our troubles, but about affirming to ourselves that our feelings are real, valid, and deserve space. So, how should we respond when our feelings are minimized? With a Stoic resolve, we can choose to validate our own experiences internally, even when others refuse to. We can strive for a dialogue, explaining how such dismissal affects us, but we also prepare to accept that some may never fully understand or acknowledge our feelings. That's their path, not ours. In navigating interactions where your feelings are minimized, remember the Stoic principles of self-validation and emotional resilience. You are the ultimate arbiter of your feelings, the one who gives them space and acknowledgement. By doing so, you honor your truth and maintain your inner peace, regardless of external affirmations or dismissals. This Stoic practice doesn't just shield us from the impact of being minimized. It transforms our relationship with our emotions, turning them into sources of strength and self-knowledge. Number 8. The illusion of calm superiority. This is where someone maintains a facade of unflappable serenity, not as a genuine reflection of inner peace, but as a way to make you feel over-emotional, irrational, or even childish by comparison. It's a subtle form of gaslighting, making you question the validity of your emotions and the reasonableness of your reactions. From a Stoic viewpoint, this manipulation tactic is a perversion of what they actually advocate for: true inner calm and equanimity. The Stoics, like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, prized the state of being untroubled by external disturbances, but not for the purpose of belittling others. They sought tranquility to better understand themselves and the world around them, to respond to life's challenges with wisdom and virtue, not to wield their calmness as a weapon against others' vulnerabilities. But why do manipulators adopt this illusion of calm superiority? It serves to elevate them in a power dynamic, casting them as the rational counterpart to your supposedly unchecked emotions. It's a control mechanism designed to silence dissent and discourage expression of feelings under the guise of maintaining peace or rationality. In confronting this tactic, Stoicism equips us with a valuable tool: the differentiation between what we can control and what we cannot. Our emotions, our responses, are within our realm of control. Someone else's decision to feign superiority? Not so much. Stoicism teaches us to focus on our internal responses, to validate our emotions without needing external approval. It encourages us to seek a state of true calm, not as a means of feeling superior, but as a way of being genuinely at peace with whatever emotions we experience. Responding to the illusion of calm superiority, then, becomes an exercise in Stoic resilience. We acknowledge our emotions, we express them appropriately, and we refuse to be drawn into a false hierarchy where the only way to be seen as rational is to suppress what we feel. We remember the words of Epictetus, who reminded us that external appearances are deceiving and true mastery is over one's internal state, not over others. So when faced with someone projecting calm superiority, remember, your emotions are valid, your reactions are yours to express, and you don't need to compete in a game of who's more unflappable. Let's embrace the Stoic approach, finding strength in our authenticity and serenity in our self-acceptance. This way, we're not just resisting manipulation, we're cultivating a deeper, more genuine tranquility within ourselves. Number 9. Emotional blackmail. Imagine someone you trust, someone you've opened your heart to, using your deepest fears, your love, or even your sense of duty against you. They might say, "If you really loved me, you would do this," or worse, threaten harm upon themselves if you do not comply with their demands. This isn't just manipulation, it's a betrayal of trust, exploiting the emotional bonds that should be sources of strength, not leverage. Stoicism, with its emphasis on virtue, integrity, and personal freedom, offers a powerful antidote to emotional blackmail. The Stoics taught that our internal moral compass, our commitment to living a life of virtue, should guide our actions, not the coercive pressure from others. Seneca, a Stoic philosopher, believed that true freedom comes from being unencumbered by external forces, including the manipulative demands of others. He would argue that succumbing to emotional blackmail does not serve us or the blackmailer. It only perpetuates a cycle of harm and dependency. But why do individuals resort to emotional blackmail? Often it's a sign of their own inner turmoil, insecurity, or inability to engage in healthy reciprocal relationships. They may feel powerless and thus resort to manipulation to assert control or to anchor themselves emotionally. However, this approach is fundamentally flawed because it seeks to fill internal voids with external concessions, which is both unsustainable and damaging. Facing emotional blackmail, Stoicism teaches us to respond with compassion, both for ourselves and the blackmailer, but also with firm boundaries. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, would counsel us to meet such challenges with patience and understanding, but to remain steadfast in our principles. We must recognize that while we can offer support, we cannot allow our lives and decisions to be dictated by another's emotional state or manipulative demands. Moreover, Stoicism encourages us to seek internal validation and peace, rather than allowing our happiness to be contingent on meeting others' demands or on their approval. This doesn't mean we become indifferent to the needs and feelings of others, but that we approach relationships with a balance of empathy and self-respect, understanding that true love and friendship never seek to imprison us with guilt or fear. In the face of emotional blackmail, then, let us draw upon our Stoic resilience. Let's remember that we have the power to choose our response, to set boundaries, and to seek help if the situation threatens our well-being or that of the blackmailer. By doing so, we honor our commitment to living with integrity, to nurturing healthy relationships, and to preserving our inner peace against the storms of manipulation. Number 10. Exploiting kindness. Imagine extending your hand, offering your heart, and giving from your spirit, only to find these gestures of goodwill are not met with gratitude but are seen as opportunities for exploitation. This manipulation preys on the benevolent, those who carry their heart on their sleeve, transforming acts of kindness into transactions where the giver is left depleted and the taker is perpetually unsatisfied. In the face of such exploitation, Stoicism stands as a bulwark, advocating for a life led by virtue and reasoned judgment. The Stoics, including Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, emphasized the importance of acting with kindness and generosity, but not at the expense of one's own well-being or moral principles. They taught that true kindness is measured not by the external rewards it brings, but by the internal satisfaction of having acted in accordance with virtue. But why do some see kindness as a weakness to be exploited? Often it's a reflection of their own deficiencies, a lack of self-sufficiency, a deep-seated insecurity, or an inability to genuinely connect with others. They view the kind-hearted not as fellow souls to be cherished, but as resources to be mined, mistaking generosity for naivety. Stoicism instructs us to approach such situations with both wisdom and courage, the wisdom to discern the true nature of these interactions, and the courage to set boundaries that protect our generosity from becoming folly. It teaches us that being kind does not mean being indiscriminate with our energy and resources. We must be judicious, ensuring that our kindness is not only well-intended, but also well-placed, nurturing relationships that are reciprocal and respectful, rather than one-sided and exploitative. Moreover, Stoicism reminds us that our primary duty is to our own virtue and integrity. We must not allow the exploitation of our kindness to lead us into bitterness or cynicism. Instead, we're encouraged to view such experiences as opportunities for growth, as tests of our resilience and commitment to living virtuously, regardless of others' actions. So, when faced with the exploitation of our kindness, let us lean into our Stoic principles. Let's continue to be generous, but with the foresight and strength to ensure our kindness enriches not just the lives of others, but our own lives as well. Let us remember that the highest form of kindness is that which is given freely, but also wisely, safeguarded by the virtues of temperance, justice, and courage. In doing so, we uphold the Stoic ideal of living a life of purpose, where our kindness becomes a beacon of hope and humanity, untainted by the manipulations of the world. As we close this chapter on recognizing and navigating the subtle contours of manipulation, remember that the essence of Stoicism isn't just about enduring the challenges life throws at us, but about emerging wiser, kinder, and more resilient. Each moment of manipulation confronted with virtue and wisdom is a step closer to the serene inner citadel we aspire to build within ourselves. Thank you for being here, for sharing in this journey of self-discovery and strength. Remember, in the face of life's storms, we stand not just as individuals, but as a community united in virtue and resilience.